But, we showed Tua's stats, 173 yards and a couple of interceptions.
Yeah, right.
And that first interception encapsulates our fair and constructive criticism of Tua.
Yeah.
There's too many times where the ball is underthrown.
Right.
When you have this guy who's the best downfield threat that we've seen since Randy Moss, arguably, and you underthrow it by 7 or 8 yards. Chris Collinsworth said last night that ball was underthrown by 7 or 8 yards.
Definitely.
You can't have that.
Yeah.
You've got to get the ball to Tyreek Hill when there's a crease, not underneath, and somebody comes over and picks it off.
Exactly right. You got to throw this one out there. The higher you throw the ball, the farther you throw it out there, the more he's going to win and pull away from everybody. And then here, a deep out route, the second interception. And again, this is to me one of the problems with the Dolphins.
Bad read. 2 guys threw it into coverage, and two guys right there.
Bad read. This is where his arm strength gets him in trouble because he's got to anticipate it. He can't just see it and go, wait, I can wait to the last second like a Josh Allen or a Mahomes and have the luxury to see it come open and then go, oh, wait, it didn't come open. I don't have to throw it. And this is one of the problems with the Dolphins. We kind of broke this down on the pregame show last night. It's tosses on the edge. It's screens to the receivers, and then it's boom, boom, boom over the middle. And we've seen that the Ravens, the Bills, right, the Eagles earlier this year, the Bills the first time around, they knew how to take away that aspect of their offense. And then you start to go and you go, okay, so what else is there? Where else does Tua throw the ball other than right here? It's a little bit Jimmy Garoppolo, San Francisco 49ers-ish in that way, to where you can almost play them areas. I understand that he's better than that and more explosive, but I'm just saying as far as playing those areas. And I think that's also what's a little concerning with Miami because as we always talk about, good offenses make you defend the whole field, and they don't sometimes because of their inability to throw the ball deep down the field or outside the numbers on the deep outs. But you're right. That was a play early on in the game where you go, they should be up 7-0. He threw a go route to Tyreek Hill, 35 yards. 35 yards. Tyreek Hill, we blink and he runs 35 yards, right? So you've got to let that out there. And, they had a few plays early like we see, but as the game goes on, they kind of stall out and they can't really put drives together or make the big plays that we saw, especially in the first half of the year.
Everything resets going into the postseason.
Yeah.
The records go out the window. All that matters is who you play and where. But you look at the two passing yardage leaders for 2023. Tua Tagovailoa, 46-24. Jared Goff of the Lions, 45-75. There's a chance next Monday. One of the things we're talking about as we sit here is both these teams really have to ask themselves who their long-term quarterback is. And I'm not saying that it will be. I'm just saying how that finality as the air completely goes out of the balloon when you lose. And 6 teams are going to lose next Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And part of the aftermath is, how do we get to the next level? There needs to be a greater toughness on defense for the Dolphins. They've picked up the 5th-year option on Tua Tagovailoa. The belief has been they're going to try to work out a long-term contract after this season. There's a chance the can gets kicked a year, and the Dolphins say, we want to see one more year. We saw you healthy.
Yeah.
But before we unlock major money, now maybe they're willing to do something that
like
is mid-level,
right?
But that's
right.
We're going to have a lot of time to talk about that. But keep an eye on that because it's going to be hard. I mean, it's going to be 5 degrees. It's the Dolphins. I don't care who they're playing in 5 degrees. They could be playing Appalachian State in 5 degrees, and I'm going to give App State. I'm going to give the Mountaineers a fighting chance. It's 5 degrees. It's Miami Dolphins.
And it's Kansas City. And we know when we've been there in snow and cold, and Kansas City doesn't give a damn. And Mahomes throws rifles all over the field that spin so hard. You're like, what? Can he really throw it like that in the weather like that? So, that's where you look at it and go, that's a little troubling. I think you couple that with the Dolphins haven't been playing their best ball and the injuries they have. Really, right? Again, we saw another edge rusher in Van Ginkel go down last night. Who else? They're thin on the D-line as it is. I mean, they've just brought in Melvin Ingram to start playing football for them here. He hasn't done anything all year.
He was covering Dalton Kincaid last night. That's how thin it got.
Yeah, seriously. So that's where you do worry about the Miami Dolphins, their mental state, and of course their physical state and how they feel about going to this game. It's a tough shake too because they only have a 6-day week. They get the shorter week after a physical, late night Sunday night game, and now here they are going to Kansas City, like you said, 5 degrees, and they're on a 2-game losing streak. And that's rare to see really quality football teams that make deep runs in the playoffs on a 2-game losing streak going into the playoffs.
And here's the other side of it too. Now they won't know definitely where they go if they win.
Right.
They won't know that a win sends them back to Baltimore, but it will unless the Steelers beat the Bills the next day.
That's right.
And really, when you consider the bigger picture, if what's awaiting you as your reward is a trip back to Baltimore and another game against the Ravens, it isn't exactly the kind of thing that's going to unlock a well of motivation to go beat the Chiefs.
We see a light at the end of the tunnel. Right? It's the Ravens.
It's the Ravens again. Again, we just saw this movie. I'm not interested in going back to the theater a second time.
Right.
And that's a real dynamic that may be articulated by some players, may not just be a given in the locker room like, man, we've played 17 games and we win this one in Kansas City in 5 degrees. We're going to go to Baltimore. But for some guys it may be, if we could win in Kansas City, then we have the belief we could go to Baltimore. But still, the Dolphins had a vibe. They had a glow.
Right.
They had a...
When did it end, right? When was the moment where it started to go, wait, this isn't just going to, they end up being the number one offense in football by 3 yards.
I think it ended against the Ravens.
The Ravens?
Because they were still talking themselves into this.
Yeah,
because, last year when they got into December, they lost 5 straight games.
Right.
And Mike McDaniel, if you watch Hard Knocks, was very focused on a different December than last year.
Right.
And everything was still clicking. And they beat the Cowboys on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Think about what a difference 2 weeks make.
Right.
They beat the Cowboys on Christmas. It changes the narrative.
Right.
Oh, we can beat a good team.
Right.
56-19. And then lose at home with so much. One of the highest stakes regular season games the Dolphins have ever had, where they know what it means to them. 2 versus 6 at home, prime time, and they don't get it done.
Yeah.
I think it was last Sunday.
You think that
when
was
when it was all dramatic. And that's the thing, it's so much to process.
Right.
When you're talking about a room full of guys in their 20s, some in their 30s, but we got a lot to process here. We're not who we thought we were.
Yeah.
How do we get it back?
Yeah.
We see how long it's taken the Eagles to kind of figure out what the hell they are and who they're going to be. The Dolphins have a much more compressed time frame to figure out what the hell, where were we wrong? You know that feeling like when you think you know who you are and you think that everything you believe in is accurate.
Yeah, sure.
And then you have one of those days where you're like, well, maybe everything I thought was wrong.
I know.
And then you got to figure all that out and
right.
reset and regroup
Right.
on the fly.
Yeah.
It's hard. I was talking about that with the Bills. They bottomed out at a time when they had a chance to truly regroup
Right.
and dig their way out of it.
Build it up
Sometimes
again.
if you have that rude awakening too late, it really isn't enough time to figure it out before you're facing single elimination football.
No, it's exactly right. You just don't get that chance to maybe play a bad team or whatever, a matchup to kind of go, oh, okay, we got a win, we got some confidence going, there's some things to build on. No, you don't have that time. You're playing one of the 6, 7 best teams in football, right? So you got to deal with that. That Chiefs game in Germany was my first whoa, they were all over, Miami stuff. The Tennessee game on a Monday night, right? Early December.
Yep, forgot about that one.
That was when I was kind of like, whoa, Tennessee, really? They just kind of made the game ugly and beat them up front and found out how to take away Tyreek Hill like we talked about. And all of a sudden it was like, well, the Dolphins are having a hard time scoring or moving the ball. I think that was the moment to me where I went, man, I'm not sure the Dolphins are for real as I thought they were. Okay, you're big up front. You got a good defensive coach. There's obviously some things here that these coaches are seeing to go, wait, I got them broken down here. So we'll see where it goes. But
it didn't feel disqualifying.
No,
I mean,
it wasn't disqualified. It's still at that point you felt like, oh, they could still right the
Stuff
ship.
happens.
It was a bad night, whatever else, right? The Ravens felt like, that might be disqualifying. We'll see where it goes. One thing I will say, and it's back to that grittiness, toughness with the Dolphins and all that, right? I still think they're a team, even like last night, that doesn't run the football enough. And I don't mean to say, I'm not one of these guys that just goes, run the football and not give you reasons why. It helps their team. It's again.
They can't stop it.
They can't stop it. To me, there is a problem with them almost every week right now where you look at it and you go, wait, they average over 5 yards per carry and they just don't run the football enough. And that is an issue. Right? They're one of these teams too. When you talk about where they were statistically running the football all year, they're one of the top running teams in football, but they're down in the mid-20s as far as rushing attempts. Again, I'm not always into stats and numbers, but those little things, what they do tell me is that you don't run the ball enough. That is the problem. And they're in the middle of the league in attempts. So that is one avenue I look at, and I know it's hard for them because Mike McDaniel's got all these cool plays and motions as you want to do that. But I do think they need to lean on that, especially with this weather. They got a dangerous running back in Achane, and they should have Raheem Mostert back next week. But I do look at that as one avenue to kind of like, hey, you can be better in this area. You can be more patient with this area. And I think it'll help out all those over-the-middle Tyreek Hill passes and maybe get you a few deep shots down the field as well if you hang in there with the run game a little more.
And if they're looking for bulletin board material, if they're looking for motivation, they're going to find it this week because no one is going to pick them to win.
No
one's going to pick them to win.
No.
They can truly
Even
say
with the
nobody
Chiefs
believes
not playing
in this.
great. No one's going to pick them.
Not with the weather that they're going to walk into.
Right.
56-19,
Chiefs
losing
rested.
the golden opportunity last night.
Right.
No one is going to pick them to win. I may pick them to win because no one's going to pick them to win. Although I don't know that even with that, it's enough to overcome what they're going to be facing on Saturday night. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.